Welcome to Angry Nerd Reviews. I know we just uploaded our first video a little while ago. We actually just got done filming it just a few seconds ago. So we decided, why not just hit us right up with another video? Today, we're going to do 3 different comic series. I'm going to do one that I've read and he hasn't. He's going to do one that, well, we both read, but he's a much bigger fan of, knows a lot of it. I'm actually a fan of it too. And then we're going to do a third one. The thing is, these are comic series that all have a bitter or unlikable taste to them completely. At least, even if it's good writing, it still has kind of a bad taste to it. One of them that leaves a bad taste in my mouth, I know a lot of comic fans are really fans of right now. The one that I'm reviewing that he doesn't know as well is Superior Spider-Man. This is the Age of Ultron issue. This is actually the only one out that I haven't read yet. There are going to be some spoilers in this, of course, if you haven't read any of the Superior Spider-Man, and it's actually the new Avenging Spider-Man as well. If you guys don't know, Peter Parker is dead. The guy who's been our Spider-Man for a long time. I mean, if you've grown up with Spider-Man, if you like Spider-Man, if you love the comics such as I do, and that lightheartedness, the whole joking aspect, the fact that he just can take all the shit in the world and still get back up and give it a good fight. And that's just gone. He's dead. But, hey, he got replaced with somebody with some real Spider-Man pedigree. Somebody who's been in the comics and a reoccurring character for a long time. I mean, fans should be happy about that, right? Right? Then again, it's a supervillain. It's one of the worst supervillains. In fact, it's a supervillain who took the entire world hostage and set it on fire, pretty much. It's the guy who is responsible for Spider Island. It's the guy who's been in, big enough that he was in Spider-Man movies. It's Dr. Octopus, if you don't know who I'm talking about already.
Yeah, that's why I'll never read this comic.
I am actually getting it in my pull list, and Avenging Spider-Man, which was originally a Peter Parker title, and followed over. Whenever he just traded over, the first couple issues of Avenging Spider-Man was just kind of like a whole lead up to, hey, here's a new Spider-Man, and then it went right into it. In the Avenging Spider-Man, he actually seems to be gathering the Secret Six, defeating them, and then capturing them and keeping them in tubes.
Okay.
He was unaware of this, because he fought Sandman and then kept Sandman in a tube, and he fought Electro, who, if you don't know, Electro in at least kind of more recent comics around the Gauntlet. If you know what that is, the Gauntlet is a fantastic Peter Parker series. If you guys haven't read it, I would definitely pick it up. But in the Gauntlet, he converted him so he's living electricity, so he's not just a person with electric powers. So he has Electro in that too. And in the most recent issue, it actually didn't go along that same premise. He fought a nightmare demon. But
I gotta say, real quick, if you're not into comics right now, comics are weird.
Yeah, yeah. If you guys aren't a regular comic book fans, well, this isn't the right video of ours to be watching. We will do other stuff besides just comic reviews, but this one focuses solely on comics. So, if you're not a comic book fan, probably not the video for you. If you are a comic book fan, you should be familiar with the very, very, very weird world of comics, especially when you try to explain it out loud. And if you explain it out loud to somebody who hasn't read comics before, you just come off like a schizophrenic. But
To be fair, I didn't even read comics. I consider them so far because he used to talk about them all the time to me. And I thought it sounded like the most retarded shit in the world. I was like, this is just stupid.
Yeah. I mean, we've both been nerds for a long time. Both of us read manga for a long time, watched anime, played video games, and I've read American comics for a lot longer than him. Tried to get him into it. He basically told me to F off, told me no way he was going to read that weird stuff about men in spandex. Once you get into it, you find it's a super addictive world, though. Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's addictive. I mean, you're going to spend money on people you know aren't rightfully going to, well, I was going to say aren't rightfully going to die, but that's actually going to hit up on this. I mean, he might come back. So anyway, during the whole Spider Island, he had to use Doc Ock's mind control device to use the spider bots. Then later on at Earth's End, which is another Spider-Man story arc, it's basically whenever Doc Ock held the world captive. He held the world captive with by hacking into our satellite system. He said he could cure global warming, when really he could just turn it and magnify us like ants in a magnifying glass. And, yeah, it's actually what he was doing. This is actually the same story arc that Silver Sable died in, and if you aren't this far, I am super sorry for just dropping that spoiler. I did just say spoiler alerts. Rhino killed her, if you don't know that. Rhino also stayed and drowned with her. Yeah, Rhino's gone. The old Rhino, anyway, the badass Rhino, who, again, the Gauntlet, the section with Rhino, check that out. Seriously, such a good series. But, Doc Ock did this. Spider-Man used a helmet based off Doc Ock's technology. Again, doing all this using Doc Ock's brain mapping technology, Doc Ock has been mapping Peter's brain. He made a golden spider. Before this happened, he had this whole story arc where he was fighting the Green Goblins and the Kingpin because they were going after one of Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin's stashes of information. And Madam Web, if you know who she is, and if you do know, if you read Spider-Man regularly, you know it's not the original Madam Web, the old woman, it's the newer one. Well, she ends up appearing to Peter and giving him a premonition of his end. And this, she says, comes in a flash of gold, a gold Octobot, which Doc Ock uses to implant his brain on Peter's. So, his brain is now on top of Peter's. Then there's this whole story arc where Peter, as Doc Ock's body, tries to get it back. He gets a new Secret Six, is doing all the stuff that he just almost can't handle because of it. He goes in and, he gets the Secret Six together. He takes the fight to Ock. He even tries to tell Charlie Cooper who he is, who doesn't believe him and fires on him. It's this whole depressing thing where he's going to die. He has a few seconds where he is dead, then he shows the spirits of like Uncle Ben and everyone telling him to rally and fight and just give it one last push. And you're like, oh yeah, you can do it, Spider-Man. And he comes back and gets beaten by Doc Ock. And again, the worst part about this, it's really good writing. Superior Spider-Man's got really good writing. It's actually a really good comic. And Doc Ock does get shit done. It's just, you have a sick feeling in your stomach because a supervillain is walking around wearing the corpse of the hero while everyone in his life and family have no idea that he's gone at all. And everyone's just like happier with him. In fact, Mayor Jonah Jameson has accepted Spider-Man as a hero and given him praise. He's spending more time with Aunt May. He actually solves his relationship problems with Mary Jane by telling her, no, we can't do this anymore. We have to realize that we're bad for each other and just step away. In which Peter's like, how come I could never do that? Which Peter's ghost image is still with him in it and trying to stop him from being too brutal. Now, you think, this is a good idea. Doc Ock's doing a really good job. Well, there's these two supervillains who are pranksters on the internet. They prank Jonah Jameson. He asks Spider-Man to go after him. And he does. After they prank him too, of course. But they're pranking him in the middle of fighting him. They hit him in the nuts. All this stuff for laughs. He ends up going very brutal on them. And if you want a brutality scale, kind of like Batman on Joker right after Jason Todd got the crowbar. And if he'd actually gotten his hands on the Joker after that, if you've read the comic, you know that, Supes kind of stepped in and stopped him. But, yeah, he goes brutal on these guys. Very brutal. Beats the ever-loving out of them. And they're just kind of laying sputtering piles of mush. And in Avenging Comics, there's even like a little piss-off kind of thing where Wolverine realizes that Spider-Man's acting weird, and he has, Wolverine the X-Men, and he asks Rachel Gray to do a mind scan on him to see who he says he is. She refuses because he brings up this whole, it's an invasion of privacy thing. And she agrees with him. Tells him that Captain America and all these people wouldn't approve of it. It's not right. He has rights. And we can't just do that. We can't just brain scan people. It's wrong. And the Avengers capture him because he's acting weird. Which, I gotta say, just because Wolverine and Captain America put their hands on your shoulder, Doc Ock, no reason to start punching superheroes. Especially, I'm sorry, but Cap with the entire Avengers team in the room, come on. And did you think Wolverine wasn't going to come back at you? Yeah, you got him down the first time, but there's a healing factor. You got to remember he's going to keep getting back up. And this whole thing, the Avengers get him, check his brain, he's fine, leave him alone. And then basically they go through it again, and he goes after a vigilante known as Cardiac, who's saving people in a hospital. He's almost very brutal. Every once in a while we'll get the image of Peter stopping his punch, something like that. This whole hopeful image. Peter's getting control of his body. Peter's doing that. Yes. Just getting happy about it. And then, yeah. But Peter's getting control of his body again. It's so awesome. Doc Ock actually ends up saving a little girl. He ends up doing all this stuff. He's got Octobots around the city watching, or not Octobots, Spider-Bots. Sorry, well, used to saying
It's the same
Octobots.
thing.
Yeah, it is the same thing, but they're painted red and blue and have spider legs. But which aren't as floppy. But he has Spider-Bots patrolling the city. They go right to his new little headset. He's also got claws now and stuff like that. And he's used some really ingenious ways. I think one of the first fights was actually pretty cool. Whenever he was using like the protocols with his chest and had all these other plans set up, actually really cool. And just the way he has all these contingencies, and he's just thought ahead. And it could be so good if it wasn't a supervillain walking around the corpse of a hero. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would accept Miles Morales as the heir to the Spider-Man throne before Doc Ock, really, because you can't have somebody be a maniac like that through the entire series. Which, during the whole thing, we get to see flashbacks of Ock's past, the fact that he had an abusive father, the fact that he was bullied in school, the fact that he's basically beaten. So we get this kind of profile of, society made him more than he was born malicious and evil. So I guess we're trying to get sympathetic. And when he's in the memory with Peter, Peter's memories are, fused in there with him, so he remembers himself in Peter's life. So he's kind of got a conscience, though Peter has to watch a lot of the stuff he's doing in his body, which is kind of leaves another sick feeling in your stomach. The most recent issues, you can tell he's smirking a little bit because he knows what happened. I won't spoil this one for you. I will tell you, though, it looks like Peter might not be coming back. I mean, you'll see the cover of the issue. If you guys haven't started reading it yet, it's a good writing, but I mean, if you weren't a fan of Peter Parker anyway, go ahead and read it. You'll like it. If you're more a fan of a malicious bastard, which is why we have Scarlet Spider.
If you like Scarlet Spider, then you'll like this. It's the same thing.
I mean, we already have Scarlet Spider. Yeah, it's just not so much brute, and more angry genius who does get brutal. But yeah, the most recent one got kind of bad, and especially the ending really leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Also, he's just gonna say, since if you don't know, Spider-Man works at Horizon Labs now, and he's wearing he's finished college, by the way, so he actually got a doctorate, or he's in college now to get a doctorate degree. And he's been wearing a lab coat lately, and he actually looks full-on evil scientist all the time, because the lab coat, he's got rubber gloves pulled all the way up, the goggles on. And he's got Peter Parker in his lab looking like an evil scientist. And he also has his little robot helper. He's just very classic evil scientist. He also, just on a funnier note, when he's talking to normal people, he'll slip up and just talk like a supervillain, or laugh maniacally. He laughed maniacally in the middle of his coworkers. He's the most fucked up laugh you've ever heard, Pete. What's going on there? And they actually introduce a phrase that I love from Spider-Man, which you might hear me say in later reviews, which is "crazy banana pants." I love that. I love that so much. But
it's damn near a catchphrase with you.
It's fantastic. I love it. It's catchphrase from Peter. I love Spider-Man. He's not Spider-Man's not one of my top 3, but he's up there. I love Peter Parker. I really did. And so again, Superior Spider-Man. If you didn't like Peter Parker, check it out. If you do like Peter Parker, you can always check out some classic trades. It's really good. Peter Parker's dead in both the main and Ultimate Universe anymore, so don't look for any new content from him. This is the Age of Ultron version. I haven't read this yet. I've caught up on Age of Ultron, but not this specific issue. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Wolf, as you know, and here is his review on his comic that he chose.
I've been reading the Red Lantern series ever since it came out, pretty much. Ever since the New 52 started, I've pretty much gotten into comics, so I figured it'd be a good jumping off point. And I've loved the series. I've always liked the idea of Red Lanterns, even before I was reading them. He told me a lot from Blackest Night about Atrocitus and about the core, especially when he got his heart ripped out, and they were like, "Now turn." He was like, "I don't need that. My heart is in my ring," and just berserked on him.
Just those panels, though. Whenever you see him rip the heart out, and then you just hear the bump, 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 and it's coming. Oh, that's one of my favorite parts. It's so.
That is a beautiful part.
Blackest Night's a really, really good one too.
I was actually still getting my way through that when I kind of read it out of sequence, but still.
he's got a lot of my. I'm trying to get him caught up on a lot of comics.
Yeah. Well, I started the Red Lantern series, and it started off really good. If you don't know about them, the Red Lanterns are made from rage. All the different Lantern cores have a base emotion to them outside of Will, technically, because Will's not technically an emotion, I suppose. And then there's White and Black Lanterns, which are death and light. they don't do much lately anymore.
Black Hand.
He's came back.
He's awesome. I love the Black Hand.
Black Hand has come back, but that's a lot to do with the Green Lantern series, and we'll get into that. Believe me, I keep track of all the lanterns right now. But in the Red Lantern series, like I said, they're all driven by rage, and the amount of rage you have to have, like one of the main people named Belize is a woman who was almost, I think, royalty in her home planet, and she was rejecting like pretty much any suitor that come to her. She's out there all like filthy pigs just after her, and then her parents got killed. And then she was sold into slavery as a sex slave, and treated as such for many, many, many years, and beaten, and just an indentured servant, not fed, not
she
kept.
also get raped and her wings ripped by them.
Yeah, she got raped by a Yellow Lantern, and then since she turned him down the first time just to have sex, he ripped her wings out of her back. 'Cause her race has wings, so that's why now as a Red Lantern she has just bones on her back for wings. And so, I mean, another guy was pinned down since him and his kind aren't allowed to have physical touch. They're essentially brain monsters. And so he dared to actually try to touch someone once, and the police came and they trapped him in a cell for over 1,000 years and tortured him, ripped off his limbs, force-fed him some disgusting searing hot paste that they made him eat until he finally got a ring and broke out. So, Atrocitus leads these people. So his rage is beyond any measurement. You have to read to get his story. It's long. Issue 0 goes into a lot of it, but it's very confusing. Yeah, I wear a ring a lot. But, I mean, like I said, it's a really good series, and it started off really good. There's been, like, some civil unrest in the Corps, and at one point the battery was dying, and Blaze has been trying to vie for power because Atrocitus is kind of lacking.
Skolok's background.
Oh, Skolok. What the hell? Didn't he get... Yeah, he got tossed into an incinerator. Yeah. He was a serial killer, and he was also a mercenary. They're trying to buy him at one point, and he messed up a job, and they threw him into an incinerator and let him cook until he was essentially bones, and that's when his rage built up enough for him to get a ring, and he busted out, and that's why his entire form now is essentially like a deer humanoid skeleton.
And there's a kitty.
Yeah, they have a cat. There's a cat. He wears his ring on his tail. He's like a trustless little pet.
Remember what we said about comics being weird?
Yeah, it's a really weird thing to get into, but it's actually really good.
My cat.
And actually, there's a point in which Atrocitus tears a hole through the fabric of the universe, essentially by yelling and vomiting blood into it until it rips a hole. And he uses it essentially as a wormhole to get to where he needs to be to go find Stormwatch. He was fighting at the time.
They have Skolok as well, because he has that ring.
Yeah, Skolok. Stormwatch had Skolok, and they were trying to get his ring, and they cut off his arm at one point. And that just got weird. I forgot how he got it back. But anyway, so like I said, he went in and he fought them and all that good stuff. They trying to give things back. I'm trying to give too many plot points. There's a lot of them in there. But lately, since the return of the first Lantern, the person who brought essentially the emotional spectrum to the universe, things have been going weird, and he can basically change your memories to what he changes in your memory you think is what happened in your past. And he changed Atrocitus to the point that he thinks he is a villain, that he's the most despicable creature in the world, and he must be killed. So now his own Corps is going out to kill him. And if that happens, I don't know what's going to happen to the Corps. If Belize is going to take over, which I'd be okay with, he'd be mad out of his mind.
I would be. I'd be fucking pissed.
Yeah.
I love Atrocitus. I love seeing that tank of a monster just rip through.
Like I said, he is huge. Look at this. That's Atrocitus fighting, what the hell his name was? Abysmus? Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there.
It was one of his first creations. He tried to create his own lanterns at first to make them like sentient beings, and they failed horribly.
They had compassion.
Yeah, they actually...
We learned that. But
yeah, it focuses weird.
He had compassion.
Yeah, they had compassion, and like they had feelings, and he wanted them to be pure rage monsters. And since they weren't, he damned them, and then they came back to kill him.
Yeah. And that's how they poisoned. That's how the Red Lantern
that's how they poisoned the battery on the planet, and it's still actually in disarray. 19 issues later.
Hasn't it been solved by now? It hasn't.
Last time I read it in issue 18, it was still melting.
Jesus, I'm a little behind the Red Lantern.
So I mean, the Red Lantern Corps, it's really good, and there's a lot going on. It's just I don't know what the hell's going to happen to Atrocitus, and that's a loss of a great leader. I mean, he's done some bad things, but the fact of the matter is they work as karma. The Red Lanterns search out great yearning for vengeance in the universe.
Don't forget him and Rancor.
Oh, the Human Lantern.
Human Red Lantern.
Yeah, they made a Human Red Lantern named Rancor.
Of course, because we can't like the alien monsters.
Every Corps has to have at least a human in it, so you can like sympathize with them for some reason.
Yeah, well, because you can't sympathize with the ugly monster beast.
Yeah, but if you read a backstory, you'd know. But no, it's okay. But so essentially, Rancor was a small, weak, kind of nerdy kid when he was younger, and him and his brother used to hang out a lot. And his brother was kind of a bullish, but they solely loved him a lot. But at one point, these muggers came in and they killed his grandpa, and he'd already been stressed out and pissed off and everything lately, and that just broke him. That's what got him a ring, and he scorched a fucking police officer with his blood vomit the first time he got his ring. Because when you get the ring, as you can imagine, it changes your blood into napalm essentially, and it doesn't feel good.
That's a point to hit too, is whenever you first become a Red Lantern, you're kind of insane with rage until you actually get dipped into the...
Yeah, you'd be thrown into the abyss on Yazamat.
It's a blood river, yeah.
It's a blood river, and it's basically, it sears like their acid blood does.
If you haven't noticed, there's a lot of blood in the Red Lantern series.
It's a very gory, very bloody series.
There's a lot of just blood that kind of appears. I don't know if that really makes it blood just red water. I'm just saying. I mean, if Yasmalt has blood water, it's just the natural resources of Yasmalt. I mean,
I'd assume it's from many victims after it just secretes from the battery.
Yasmalt wasn't originally like that.
Nah, it used to be a much different place, but
and you get to see Atrocity's past in that with
like I said,
Riot.
If you read issue 0, that focuses a lot on Atrocity's past, and at one point he had sex with a demon. And it gave him powers.
Let's not talk about the whole...
Yeah, like I said, weird spots that don't make sense.
The sex gives him prophetic powers.
Yeah, it gives him his blood prophecy, where he can like spill his own blood, and then it gives him a vision of the future.
Not too keen on that part. I just want to say on a personal note, the whole seeing him with his family was funny, seeing this gigantic tooth guy running up. He's like, I love you, family. I love you.
Especially since on the cover, it shows his teeth like being flat like ours, but I mean, they're really like, jagged.
You see that? You see how he has no lips or anything like that? He doesn't have any physical changes from whenever he was himself.
That's what he always looked like. That's what his race looked like.
His race looked like giant rage monsters, but they were sweet and loving.
Yeah, and on his planet, they were all just normal people. That's how they looked and acted. They acted normal. It was like he was coming back. The Manhunters come to destroy his planet because they went haywire.
He also wasn't a fighter. He was like an engineer or something?
He was just an engineer. Pretty sure he was an engineer, and he was just rushing home to try to protect his family, and then they both died. And then his entire planet died to the Manhunters, and that's what caused his rage, and that's what caused him to found the Red Lanterns. I like the lanterns.
we both do, actually. I've got a full set of 9 rings.
I don't know.
I've got like quite a few figures, but do you have any closing notes on that?
Just it's worth reading. It's a really good series. Just like I said, there's some really strange parts in it. His past, when they go into really deep detail in issue 0, gets really confusing. It really takes span over thousands of years. Like his lifespan seems infinite. It's really weird. I don't know how these things age, but it's like I said, it's worth reading. It's just really weird.
That's right. He's over a couple thousand years old.
Yeah, he spent a few thousand years on Yazamat by himself.
He's over 100,000 or like 10,000, 100,000, isn't he?
Yeah, like
he's older than the Doctor.
Yeah, shut up.
Oh, dude, shut up. I love Doctor.
He spent, like I said, a couple thousand years by himself on Yit. I think I pronounced that.
His Yasmalt?
Yeah. No,
his home planet, Ryut.
Yeah. Ryut. He spent a couple thousand years just by himself there, brewing in his own anger, and then he finally met these space demons.
Oh, I know those 4. Yeah.
And then they took him on, and one was a female.
Yeah.
And then they hung out for a while. And he was like, "I fell in love with you," even though he was lying to her just to get her to share her abilities with him. And so they again joined.
The lesson in that is if you lie to women to get them in bed, apparently you get magic powers.
Apparently with them having sex, he got the ability to make blood prophecies.
Don't really lie to women to get them in bed. That's just bad.
But yeah, like I said, it's really fucking weird, but it's a really good series. It's well written. It keeps up with all the continuity. It keeps up a very tight story. I'm trying to tell a lot. There's a lot going on, especially with the Third Army and then the new First Lantern series that's up right now.
Are you done with that one?
Yeah, that's it for the Red Lantern. It's worth picking up at least.
So as you can tell from Red Lantern and Superior Spider-Man, the ones that we both actually say you should go pick up and read, but there's points in both of them that make us a little uneasy. Yeah. They both give you a little, especially with Atrocitus becoming a preacher and such.
Oh, I forgot about that. He's leading a church now. He sees like the Red Lanterns as like this new like religion of his. He talks like a preacher.
Yeah, and the whole like. So they're both ones that we say if you like the concepts and such, go out and get them. They're actually pretty good, but they both give us a little bit of an uneasy feeling because they're not necessarily going in the best ways for the character, especially since they're long-running characters. This next comic series, however...
And the worst part is, before we even show this, I was so excited for this. Oh, was I?
We did... Whenever I read this at his house, I read this out loud in parody voices to him, because they were just so fucking
It got
bad.
to be a joke.
Oh, it was a joke. This series, I'm going to reveal it soon, is bad. I hate it. I really do. This one we do not recommend, and it is Minimum Carnage. Minimum Carnage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when I first heard about this, all I knew was we were going to have Carnage, Scarlet Spider, and Venom, and I lost it. Like, three of my favorite people in the world, I was like, oh my god, they're all together at one issue, this is going to be amazing.
Venom's an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just get into this real quick. This takes place in the microverse. If you guys don't know what the microverse is, it's the concept that in every little space between every little atom, there's an entire universe. Though they do talk about the microverse as if it's a separate thing, or as if it's one whole thing, even though there's technically tons of microverses. The Avengers went to another one later on, not too far apart from that in the comics. I don't know why the hell they're on a microverse kick. It's been a while since we've actually read the comics, so you might be a little rusty on some of it. Venom, though. Venom goes in, and, after Carnage, because we have to stop him, he's micro-sized. Apparently, he actually could have blown up the reality of our universe by blowing up the reality of one of the microverses.
Yeah, apparently we're both, hinged on each other. If something happens in one, it affects ours, too. And it's just, it makes no sense. And and also, just to clear things up, because it gets important here in a minute. At this point, I'm not sure how long it's been like this, but Flash Thompson, I think his name is.
Oh yeah, Flash
is
Thompson.
Venom. He's wearing the Venom suit, and it's been neutered somehow. It's fully listening to whatever he wants him to do.
I'll give a quick explanation of that. Flash Thompson, if you don't know, who was the bully for Spider-Man. Again, if you're not that into comics yet, or you're just trying to get into him, Flash Thompson was the bully from Spider-Man. He actually served in the Iraq War. He got his legs blown off. It was actually a couple years ago when I was reading the issue of Spider-Man where the government offered him this. I can't remember what story arc it was. It might have been right around the Gauntlet, right a little after, maybe a little before. Can't remember. But it was right close to that, around there. But he was offered something from the U.S. government. They offered him a way to walk again. He'd become basically a super soldier. What they did is they kind of nerfed down the Venom symbiote. They have it tamed. They castrated it. If you don't know what castrated means, it means you took the balls off. And they castrated it. And so now it's a little more docile. It still has a couple hiccups every once in a while where it goes berserker. But Flash Thompson's the one in it. It's no longer Eddie Brock. If you guys knew who that is.
It's not the same giant hulking Venom you've seen before. It's more a slim. It almost looks like a slimline military uniform, but with Venom colors.
Which actually, Guy Gargan, if you don't know who he is, in Dark Reign, he was in the Dark Avengers as Spider-Man using the Venom symbiote. Had a sleek design, kind of similar, but it was more of a Spider-Man suit. And if you don't know who Guy Gargan is, he was the original Scorpion. If you don't know who that is, read the comics. But anyway, Venom goes into the hero Venom, who's now in the Thunderbolts. If you guys are wanting to follow him at all, he's actually in the Thunderbolts, which isn't too bad. It's a little weird.
It's got a really weird love interest between
the
two other people. It's weird.
That's a story for another day. we'll get to it. Don't worry. Because we're getting really off topic. Venom goes in there. He gets confronted by some people. And the thing that pissed me off the most is this military-trained super soldier symbiote. They're like, well, you're coming with us. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We got you under arrest. Cool. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're under attack. Okay. He just goes with it.
Yeah. Just what they tell him to do. He's like, cool. I'm here. Fuck it.
That just okay. I get it. They were the good guys, but he didn't know that. He didn't ask any before questions. They were just saying, "Oh, the Destroyer's here. The great." What the hell was the guy who ran the universe's name? It was like the Watcher or the Guardian or
some stupid shit like that. It's all so generic.
The Revelation. I'm on track there. I'm getting closer. I know it's right in front of us, but they're saying that they're doing this named guy who's the guardian or the god of this universe, and there's another guy who's going to destroy the universe, and he just takes it at face value. I understand that. I understand trusting people like that, but whenever you live in the superhero universe where Norman Osborn has already been the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D.
The Redeemer.
The Redeemer!
Yeah.
That's such a good name.
Generic-ass names.
Yeah, generic-ass names are generic. But whenever you live in the Marvel Universe where people like Norman Osborn have taken control of the government, where you've been double-crossed, where people get brainwashed, where crap happens, and you just take an unknown person at face value when you're in the microverse and Carnage is running wild somewhere. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Not just that, but what Atticus? Hold on, Atticus Rand. Atticus Rand. I didn't even make it to the page. I just remembered his name. Atticus Rand introduces himself like 2 or 3 times in a row. I just want to say that.
He says his name so much. He's so proud of himself.
I'm Atticus Rand. Atticus Rand. Atticus Rand? Yes, Atticus Rand. Yeah, Atticus Rand. I mean, later in the series he stopped saying it so much, but like when he first introduces, he says it like 2 or 3 times in a row, and it's like, oh, okay, dude, we got it the first time.
And the thing is, it's not even. It's a 6-part miniseries. Later on in the series means like issue 4.
Yeah.
The 6th issue is them out of the microverse. There's only like 1 issue. He's not talking about himself nonstop.
Yeah. There's somebody with a weird tick in it too. That bug guy.
Yes. I don't know what his name was. Every other like word was like. Sk.
There's Sonic Fairies. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
The Sonic Fairies kick the crap out of Venom because Venom's weak to sound, though. That's something we should all know. But okay, let's just talk for a second about Carnage. About some of the, you know what, for entertainment value, for laughter value, some of the shit that comes out of the Carnage's mouth.
He was the best thing in that.
Some of the shit that comes out of the Carnage's mouth is worth it. Like, I'm not making this up. Like whenever he killed somebody, decapitated them, and fucked the skull of the person. He did this. We didn't see it, of course, but he decapitated somebody and fucked their skull.
And I swear to God, every other line from him is sexual innuendo of some point.
It is. It's a lot of cursing, a lot of sexual innuendo, and a lot of talking about wanting to rape and murder, like, everyone. Like, yeah, I'm gonna rip you apart and fuck you. What the hell, dude? Why do you always go there? You were just, there's no medium point. It is just fucking switch right there.
It's just always murder, kill, fuck, murder, kill, fuck.
It's just like, hey, how you doing? I'm gonna fuck you in the skull! Yeah. There's no middle point. He is just balls to the wall.
And I mean, I get it. It's supposed to be Carnage, it's supposed to be insane and murdery, but it's not even that he does much murdery.
Let's also talk about a couple things that there was issues of. Before this, Carnage had taken over a town and killed a lot of people, and it took kind of the Avengers to get him out of there. So Scarlet Spider and Venom decided to take them on by himself. Which, by the way, Scarlet Spider was kind of a saving grace, because the non-military trained, if you don't know who Scarlet Spider is, okay, if you know what the Clone Saga is for Spider-Man, there was Ben Reilly, there was also another guy named Kane. Kane was kind of a supervillain for a while, and decided to redeem his ways. That's who Scarlet Spider is. Think Spider-Man, bad attitude, and little wrist claws.
He's got little wrist claws full of poison. He's also kind of kill hero.
Yeah, he kind of is. He used to be a supervillain.
Yeah, he's very stabby.
He kind of says the same things you do in the comic. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this?
He's the only one in the entire comic that's actually trying to put things together.
Yeah, he's the only one with a little bit of reason, where he's like, what's going on here? There's some little art hiccups. The art's not terrible, but there's some little art hiccups here and there that are.
There's one scene where you see someone, and it looks like they got like flung. They're standing here, and next thing you know, like over here, flung off something.
It's a woman. It's that woman when she's on the cliff.
Yeah.
And it was like Carnage jumped to her, but the way the art was, the way it meshed together, we were sitting there looking at it for a second, like, what the hell just happened? Why did she jump off that? Oh, the rock broke.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now. But so Scarlet Spider and all, or Scarlet Spider, and Venom, they decided to go in the microverse by themselves. Don't alert anyone. Something else. I know that it's a different microscopic universe, but they're still in the same area they were before. Why wouldn't their radios work anymore? I get it. It's a different universe, but they are still in the direct spot that the radios worked before, just miniature. So shouldn't the radio still work?
And you think even before, again, the military trained guy, you think before would have jumping into some new place he's never heard of that could kill him. They told him, hey, there might not be any way of you coming back, and you might die getting there. But like, hey, military, Avengers, somebody come watch this place. Bad things are happening.
You know what? I can say the radio field because you might say some of the atmosphere from the microverse is messing with it, or different frequencies, or anything like that because it's its own expansive place. So fine.
But he didn't try.
But he didn't try. He didn't. Not only did he not try, we know he did try. He's like, oh, it's not working. It's not working. I don't know why I tried after I jumped into the microverse, but forethought and planning, I'm awesome at that. Military. And I mean, I'm not making fun of the military. I'm not making fun of your military service. I'm just saying that somebody who has military training, who is a super soldier, should know this. He should have recon. He should do something.
If anything, we're saying the military is good. They should know how to do these things, not just jumping in that pit and hoping things go right.
Exactly. No one who's been through that kind of stuff is that stupid. They're not going to be like, dangerous pit full of hostiles? Running! I mean, unless you're Call of Duty. It's bad, though. It's so bad. Carnage ends up turning himself into a disease. And
they make also clone baby Venom Carnage things.
They come out of your eyes and such.
Yeah, they infect people, and they just exist in matter, and he just makes them.
Yeah, it gets...
It looks akin to this. This is the last issue.
Okay, yeah. Actually, here. Keep talking. I'm going to look this up.
Yeah, also, as I said, before he shows you this, the thing I thought when I first saw this was the fact that you see Venom tiny there with the syringe and them two. All I thought was, okay, Venom's going to get small, probably turn himself into some kind of disease or something like that, and try to spread the Venom suit among a bunch of people to cause a whole bunch of mass carnage like he does. And nothing even akin to this happens. Nothing of any kind of... It would have made so much more sense for him to try to infect several people.
He does. He infects several... Well, he didn't turn them into...
Yeah, he didn't turn them into anything. They existed, cut them up from the inside, and left.
Well, what kind of happens here is you can see a ton of tiny little Venoms, or Venom Carnages, running through there. The part where it gets kind of weird, all the little Carnages, turn yourself micro, so you can turn yourself giant.
Yeah, just to come back to this place to be you again.
Yeah, and he ends up becoming ultra giant. And the way, if you guys know much about the symbiote, he gets his neck broken many times in this. He ends up getting blown up, and the Scarlet Spider stabs him in the damn eye.
Yeah,
and that's how he dies. Which Venom gets pissed off about it.
And they don't even kill him in this. The worst part is he lobotomized him so that now he's not even mentally there. So the Carnage suit comes back, it's pure carnage now. He has a fully mentally dead human host that he can just work through.
Yeah, so he's going to be more brutal than before, but hey, no more carnage rape.
Yeah. So at least when Carnage comes back this time, it's going to be lots of murder, unless they fuck it up again.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope they don't. I know this is backtracking a lot, because it's going all the way back to Superior Spider-Man. And I apologize for this. I know this is bad of me to bring up then, but just because he said that, bringing back villains and stuff like that reminded me of it. Soon in the Superior Spider-Man comic, if you want to read it, Norman Osborn as the Green Goblin. At least that's who it's been shown as, because it showed the Green Goblin should be making an appearance against Doc Ock Spider-Man. I'm actually excited to see that.
I feel like if anybody should know it's him, it'd be him.
Well, it's
just
Green
from the way
Goblin.
he acts. So.
It's Green Goblin, yeah.
Yeah, Norman Osborn's not dumb.
No.
He knows he's acting weird quick.
The last few times before this, he's been an Avengers villain. But I'm sorry to get off topic like that. You can tell we do that sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if you don't like ramble and rant. You're going to get it sometimes. But Carnage, Minimum Carnage as a whole sucked. It was stupid. The art had some hiccups that made it confusing. And the supporting characters from the microverse were just...
bland and stupid and
unlikable.
Boring and just annoying.
I mean, he's Atticus Ram, though. You remember that. You remember that name. It'll be important, never. But the Avengers with the microverse, too. The microverse just needs to not happen to comics.
Yeah, it's stupid and useless. It doesn't make sense.
There's a few concepts in comics that, whenever they write it down, I wonder if the writers ever just go... fuck it.
I think they go, that sounded good.
Actually, there's a couple writers who do a lot of drugs and don't eat for days to give themselves inspiration. I'm not going to say which writers, but I'm sure any of you out there do know them. there are some writers who do fuck themselves up to come up with these stories, which kind of explains some of the stuff that we get.
The worst part is that like the 2 cover arts for the first and last issues of this, beautiful. Like I love the art in these things. Just fucking
That's actually written. Is this written by Christopher Yost? Yeah,
yeah. There's a name on top, right up top.
He actually does a lot of good stuff usually, or some pretty decent stuff usually.
Apparently, he was high that day.
Not, I mean, he's not like the greatest out there, but he's done some pretty decent stuff. If you're familiar with a lot of the Marvel Disney cartoons, he actually does a lot of the stuff for that, a lot of the writing for that, which those actually turn out pretty damn good. We don't get any Minimum Carnage, or fucking skulls. I'm sorry, that was just so disturbing.
And it was even a human. It was some like techno person he murdered and ripped the head off of.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we keep bringing up the rape references.
It's just weird.
It is, especially with the woman. That woman was an idiot too.
Mm-hmm.
She was a fucking idiot.
There was some reporter chick that worked for I think a tabloid, and that they took down there to record their great experience that they were trying to make.
I don't understand what the hell the point in that is. Let's kidnap a reporter, ha ha ha, and then she'll warn the Avengers. Wait.
That'll get us killed.
What? I'm sure we can take him. It's not like Venom and Scarlet Spider can kill us. I mean, it's just... Granted, Venom, Scarlet Spider, Carnage, all really cool. All supporting characters.
Yeah.
They get their own roles. They do. They get their own comics. Scarlet Spider currently has a comic if you want to check it out. It's not bad.
I haven't read it before. I've seen it. Looks decent.
Yeah, it's not bad, but... It's not the greatest. They're supporting characters usually. That's the thing. Is you took a bunch of people who are usually supporting characters, threw them into a comic, which could have been really good with those guys because they've got some aspects that, some personalities that could clash and actually create a lot of interesting scenarios. And you throw them in the microverse, which is kind of a crap hit. I'm just saying.
I mean, that's it for these, I guess. Before we ramble more about the same thing.
Yeah,
like
sorry.
This is, like I said, just stay away from this.
Yeah.
Red Lantern and Superior Spider-Man,
check them
worth
out.
checking out. Microverse, Minimum Carnage, just don't.
And
don't.
Sorry that we ramble so long and our videos have been so long lately. We might try to condense them sometime, but again, we put out 2 pretty long videos in one night. You might be getting a lot of long videos.
Yeah, it's 5:23 a.m. too. Tired, working on it a little bit too.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you again.